You're known on Instagram as Half the Man.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I've lost over half my body weight and a little bit more as well.
So, what did you weigh initially and what do you weigh now?
So January 2021, 17th of January, I weighed bang on 40 stone.
Wow.
It's nuts when I think about it, because like, it just don't seem 2 minutes away, but it seems so far away at the same time.
Yeah. It's not, is it? It's 2021's not long
Now
ago
it's
at all,
gone.
is it?
It's gone pretty quick, but it does. I think it's because I feel like I've left my old body. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then I've created a new one, so I feel like I've left the existing man behind, but I've created a new. Like, I feel like I've got a second life, like a second lease of life now.
So, what do you weigh now?
It's about 16, fluctuating between 16.6, 16.7.
So,
But £5 of that was skin.
25, 20,
23 and a half stone.
23 and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, what, like 2 or something?
I'm 14 and a half stone.
Yeah, it's not far off. It's like you and a half, innit? And
mental.
what's crazy is I think it works out like 140 kilo, I think. And I actually, I had it on my back in gym, and I tried walking with it, and I literally lasted about 30 seconds. I had to go back and re-rack it. I couldn't walk with that weight on my back.
So, take me back to that point then when you weighed 40
Yeah.
stone. What was it internally that made you think, I can't do this? I can't be this weight anymore. I've got to make a change.
So what happened was, in lockdown, I started watching some videos with a local coach from here, and it was probably like September time. And what had happened was, he used to do daily videos in lockdown, and I'd get my phone out to text him or to send him a message, but I just didn't have balls to message him. And I didn't want to ask for help because I'm really stubborn. And I think it's just in my nature that I'm just a bit old school.
Okay.
So I'll probably say I literally went to message him 4 or 5 times. And the last time I messaged him, I lowered my hands up, it was by accident.
Right.
I didn't actually mean to message him.
Okay.
And obviously, protocol, one of the things was to get weighed, and I genuinely didn't know what I weighed originally. And I had some scales at mine that they went up to 32 and a half stone. So I remember the day after I like set up and joined and stuff, I went downstairs in the morning and I went to jump on these scales, and it said OL on these scales. And I was like, fuck's up with this, like the batteries changing or something. So I had to Google what OL meant on a weighing scale, and it means over limit.
Right.
So I had to order a new set of scales off Amazon that went up to like 45 stone, I think. And I'm thinking, I genuinely didn't know what I weighed at that point. I'm thinking, I think I was a bit naive. I thought I might have been like early 30s. So even though like these 32 stone scales said OL, I think in my head I was thinking like 33, 34. And then these, obviously I got on my like next day delivery, and then these scales come, and I got weighed the 17th of Jan. And obviously I didn't know what it was going to be. And I remember looking down, and I saw it was bang on nose 40 stone, and I just started crying. And I was just thinking, like, there's just no way back from this, like, at all.
And I think it's an important message, like people think me, obviously big lad, come off Love Island. Don't get me wrong, like, I know obviously, maybe even like yourself, like people do have mental health issues and anxiety and depression, but touch wood, luckily I've never had any of that, so I'm very lucky in that sense. But people see me, big guy, Love Island, think, oh, he's happy all the time. But that's not the case. I have my days.
Yeah.
Like, even this morning, like, I woke up feeling a bit shit.
What did you put that down to?
Like, sometimes I just, like, I don't know what it is. I think it's exercise, you know.
Yeah.
I think.
Did you implement the things we said?
I have. I've started to
Have
do
you?
it, yeah.
How'd you
Not
find
little
it?
bits.
Yeah.
Especially with my phone.
And
Because,
how have you found that?
yeah, better, like, obviously waking up and not going straight on my phone. It's like we spoke about, you get up, especially the industry I'm in, you go on your phone Yeah, I
constant.
could see 100 negative comments. I wake up and I see it, I'm like, fuck this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, just having that time to come round and I haven't done it every day, I'll not lie, but I've gradually tried to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt better. But like I said, people think Big Guy Love Island, it's amazing. And like, you got to think of it as this, like, people never post the bad days on Instagram. You probably spoke about this. I've seen it in your TikToks actually, like, people always post the good. But don't get me wrong, I have my days where I'm like, fucking hell, I can't be arsed today.
Yeah.
Like, I have them days. Like, it's normal to feel like that.
When is it that you opened up about the events that happened in your life?
So when I first told anyone was on the day that I planned to take my own life when I was just 16. And following the sexual abuse that ended when I was around 12 or 13, my stepdad began to physically abuse me and emotionally abuse me. And it took me into like a dark spiral where I felt trapped. And with the shame of the sexual abuse and the fear that I had for him hurting me, I was trapped and I was stuck in that situation. So the only way out for me felt like suicide. I felt like that was the only option I had. When I reflect back, as an adult, I can see other options there, but that's the thing when you have, when you're in depression or in that dark space, you don't see the other ways out. And it's very easy for someone to sit and reflect now and say, you could have, why don't you just speak to someone at school? Or why don't you just, it's not like that for people who are in that space. So I first told someone over the phone, I was about to end my own life. I'd planned it all out. I'd written suicide letters for my mum, for my family. And I stood in the bathroom ready to do it. And then my phone rang. So I answered and it was a friend and it just came out. It's like I didn't have any control. It's like in that moment, I was just in some sort of panic and I just said like, oh, this has happened to me when I was younger. Just blurted it all out. And then I made a plan to sort of go to the police station. So I was supposed to be at work later that day, but my abuser always took me to work. So I knew I'd have to get in the car with him. And it was hard for me in that moment or that time for me to keep that feeling in because of how crazy that day felt. And so I got out of the bathroom after I'd revealed this and got ready for work as normal. And then I was like, went downstairs, got in the car with him, and I was just silent. And I remember he said he was quite aggressive with me that day, and he was kind of saying that I seem really sad and down, and I need to start lifting up because my mum's going to start becoming suspicious about things. And I was, it just made me more and more sort of down or riled up, kind of. And he just kept going. I remember it felt like the longest drive ever. It was only a 2-minute drive from my house where I worked. And he's just sort of like drilling that into me. You need to, just like he always did, you need to pick up. Your mum's going to start getting suspicious about things. She's going to start asking questions. Why is Ryan so sad? Why is he not going to hear you now? And all this sort of stuff. And then we pulled up outside and I just said to him like, oh, I'm not going to keep your secret anymore. And it's the first time that I'd ever said your secret. And it's also the first time that I'd ever spoke about what had happened to him directly in a way that wasn't, we had like sort of code names and things like that for it, but I just came out with it there and then like, I'm not going to keep your secret anymore. And I remember he said like, stop it with this attitude, Ryan. And he like went red and he was like really angry. And so I opened the door and I managed to get out and he tried to grab my top and pull me back in the car, but I managed to shrug him off. And I shut the door and walked towards and I could just see him in the background going like, it's like, get here now, type thing. And that's the last time I ever saw him. And then I went into it was a McDonald's where I worked, and I went into the toilet and I just started crying. But it wasn't for the reasons that you would think. I felt bad for him, this is what will confuse a lot of people watching. And this is one of the messages that I stress a lot, and I will get into it more. I felt guilty for him and I felt so sorry for him because he was my dad, Even though he was my stepdad, he'd been my dad since so young that attachment was there, and that relationship doesn't go away just because of what he did at that time. Obviously, as I got older and I understood abusive tactics and how these people worm their way into families and do this, it's easier to detach from those emotions. But in that, I was so sad that I was losing my dad and that he was going to go to prison potentially. So after that, after I broke down in the toilet, I walked around and there was a police station just next door to where I worked, which is ideal, isn't it? But I just walked into there and then a police officer greeted me, and the first thing they said to me was, you might have to come back tomorrow because we don't have enough officers in today, or something like that, or the correct officers. And I was kind of like, what? Like, I know for a fact, due to some of the events that had happened and the type of person that I knew he was, and that you'll learn that he was, that if I would have gone back that day, I would have been murdered. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. He was in a state there where he would have protected himself over anything. And I knew how violent he was and how he didn't show any empathy for me as a young child throughout all those years. I knew he would be capable of that, and I said that to her. And it was kind of like, well, it was a guy actually, and he was kind of sort of took back and he was like,
Didn't know what to do.
All right then, yeah, I'm going to have to find someone. So then these two other officers, which were amazing, came down and just got me into this room and just asked me like, well, what's the allegation that you're making? And it was so hard for me to get it out of my mouth, like, oh, it's sexual abuse. Like, I didn't really know like sexual abuse, I think. And they was like, all right then. And then they took me to a specialist centre and I did a 4-hour recorded interview detailing in deep depth everything that had happened that I could remember, which was quite traumatic within itself, all of that happening in one day. And this is one of the issues with, you know, the justice system for survivors. But yeah, that was an experience just to a complete stranger, explaining my deepest, you know, darkest secret that brought up so much shame and anxiety and guilt and all of those things. And then I remember the two officers that originally spoke to me came back in and they said, oh, we're going to arrest him now. And like that feeling was like, oh no, it's like it's actually over. Like, it is over. I've done it. I've managed to break out. And I remember there was a bit of uplift there, and I was kind of like, you know, things might be all right here, which was so different to earlier in the day where I was like, this is my last day on earth.
Even now, I don't really watch much boxing. The only people that I used to watch are like Kell Brook, because like I said, when I left school, I started working part time at Scott's Menswear in Meadowhall, and they actually used to sponsor him. They used to get like free tickets to the shows, and you used to go and watch Kell Brook. I think we watched Anthony Joshua like early on in his career. We used to have tickets to go and watch, like, so we used to like Sheffield Arena watch Kell Brook walking out, and like used to see him in the shop as well. So
did that give you inspiration?
Yeah, massively, because I used to work part time there, so he used to come in.
Yeah,
he used to come in and like literally say, I want this shoe, I want that jacket, that top. And I used to like be running upstairs getting his shoes for him. Oh, there you go, Kell, do you want to try? Like, literally, I used to go and get the stock for him to try on.
Yeah.
And I was like only 16, 17, and then quite a few years later, his DMing me saying, oh, I'm looking forward to your fight tonight. What time are you going to be on? And he was like ringside with my first fight on Sky in Manchester Arena. Got in the ring after, got a photo with him, and it's like this guy I used to look up to when I was a kid. I used to serve him shoes and stuff, and like have to run upstairs like to make sure his size is right for him. And then now he's sitting ringside at my fight at Manchester Arena, my debut on Sky. So it's just crazy how things
transpire.
Change. Yeah.
And now he's looking up to you and thinking, look at this guy doing so well and absolutely smashing it.
Yeah, well, I see him quite a lot now, you know, different shows, different events. And everyone that I speak to, they tell me that he's not a fan, but a big advocate for myself, and he's always saying good things about me to Box, to Sky. And
we are not designed to be happy. You're not. When you get up in the morning, if we walked out here, yeah, you're looking, it's beautiful outside. If we walked out of here, the first thing we'd be doing, because we're designed, is there a car coming? Are we going to get knocked over? You know, what problem might be happening? Who's ringing me? What's my email? Nobody's going to walk out of here and go, Jesus, the sun's lovely. How about, look at the trees, look at this. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to look at, how about, great conversation. You're going to be walking out of here thinking to yourself, what's next? What have I got to worry about? And that's the way we're designed. So I say you have to work at being happy.
I know you said you don't read, but I'm reading a book at the minute called The Chimp Paradox.
Yeah.
Have you come across it?
I design my schools based on emotion.
Yeah.
Everybody said it looks like you've designed your schools on the Chimp Paradox book.
Yeah, brilliant. So that is how humans are wired. So you have the human part of your brain and your chimp part of your brain.
Yeah.
And the chimp part of your brain is it's the bit that thinks emotionally.
Yeah.
And the human part is the thing that thinks logically.
Yeah.
And the chimp is always, or more often than not, the first thing to respond to anything. And more often than not, we're hardwired to focus on the negative part of any situation. Hence why the news is always negative.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
So if you, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. If you can go and focus on the positive thing in any situation, then from that, it's like positivity breeds positivity. Everything from that will be an ongoing.
And do you know when I say this, because I've had this conversation, so it is the reason we do that, do you know why it is? Because it wants to keep us safe.
Yes.
All you want to do is stay safe. So
Yeah.
you're designed to be safe, not happy.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, you saying I'm going to start a podcast
Yeah.
isn't safe.
Yeah.
But I bet you've loved it.
Yeah.
Feedback's brilliant.
Yeah.
You going and being an inspirational speaker, sharing that story of your brother, you know, making yourself vulnerable.
Yeah.
Is that safe? No. But I bet you the feeling when you see the kids' faces in the schools and the impact from the staff.
There's no better
How
fe-
amazing is it?
No better feeling.
But it's not safe.
No.
Because you asked anybody, going, and I get goose pimples because I'm reliving, you know, when I stand up there going, it's scary.
Yeah.
You're getting up there thinking, one, they've booked you, you've got to deliver, your passion and purpose tells you want to make a difference, and then you've got to do it. So you have to block all that out, then to relay a message that's going to be impactful, and then at the end, and it's like, and then what people don't get is, that is so tough, because especially that, if you don't mind me asking a question, you ever suffered with anxiety?
No, anxiety is not something I've really suffered with. I mean, I tell a lie. I don't think it's as extreme as anxiety, but in the morning, why my morning routine is so important for me is that in the morning, with running this business and other things as well, like I overthink massively in the morning. So I wake up early like yourself and I'll sit in bed. I could sit in bed for hours just thinking about shit. That's why I have to get up and I do the cold shower, go to the gym, because after I leave, everything's clear and I've got clarity and everything like that. I wouldn't say I suffer with anxiety, but in the morning, I definitely have anxiety or certain anxious feelings.
And I think that's the thing where, the reason why I asked the question is because everybody suffers anxiety.
Sure.
It's different levels.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we're so scared of admitting it means that actually we only actually recognise it when it becomes severe. And that's the bit. And I can say that because I suffered from anxiety without knowing. But I suffered from anxiety through a fear of failure. Do you know, not feeling good enough from being, you know, abused as a child, all those things. So and social anxiety was really bad for me. I used to do anything growing up to try and be accepted because what I didn't realise is till I was 36, 37, my dad left me before I was born. My stepdad abused me. Do you know, everything but sexual abuse, suffered everything. I'd been rejected my whole life because of racism. I went to, 14 different schools. Do you know, I moved to different estates. Do you know, I was on an estate one day for 3 hours. My mum said, go to the shop. I went to the shop to get a bottle of milk. I walked out. Somebody said, give me that bottle of milk, you packy. I was fighting on the street corner after 3 hours. So all my life, I was like going, I'd do anything. There's things I cringe at, saying, I'd be coming in going, oh, I love your jeans. I love your anything. Or I think you smell. Or what? If you said you liked pink cars, I'd be like, I love pink cars.
Yeah.
But I'd do anything because I just wanted to be accepted and liked. And I think to myself, the pain that's caused me internally, and we do so much of it, that I genuinely cringe about the things that I've done in my life. But that anxiety was there, but I didn't know what it was. And if I knew how to deal with it like I do now, and I've strived all of that, feeling accepted, being wanted, but truly I've always wanted to be happy.
Your disability doesn't determine your ability.
No, no such word as can't. That's how I've been brought up.
Yeah.
No such word as can't.
Is that right? Have I said that right?
Yeah.
Your disability doesn't determine your ability.
Well, no, because I think we have his own little windows, don't we, in his mind, where your capabilities end. I remember being in Gran Canaria, well before kids, me and Lady had not been together long. I remember seeing a lady, a dancer, and she had a absolutely stunning figure. But I'd already convinced myself that I could never have a figure like that. And it was just because, well, I was born Rodney, like, because I weren't going to do what needed to be done in order to get her figure. So I was really shortening my capabilities, really, before I'd even had a go. And I think that's the same way having a disability. It would be very easy for me to say, yeah, I can't lift, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, but it's only me that's suffering from that. I mean, there's certain things that I can't do. Just can't. Can't put my jewellery on. There's lots of I can't think off the top of my head things I can't do, but I'll just ask for help.
But you've gotten rid of that limitation that so many people would have had by doing what you've done. Reverse back to 2015. If you look now at where you're at in 2014, would you have ever believed that you'd get to the point where you're at now?
No. Absolutely not, no. I know I said it to you earlier, but I do feel like I'm living somebody else's life.
Do you feel like that's a bit of imposter syndrome?
Yeah, massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also I just can't understand how I can, not that I can't understand because I don't understand it because I've made sure I've understood myself. It's just such a big shift from where I was, this quite anxious. And I'm not going to say shy because I weren't shy, but I weren't confident. To now, and just how I feel in my mind. I'm a completely different person. I talk about her as though she's someone else. So for me, I protect my mindset like it's royalty.
Yeah.
Because I can't, and I won't go back there. I can't.
The mental health card can very often be used.
Can be easily played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I take drugs, I drink, and I act in a unethical way because of my mental health. And 9 times out of 10, I think, no, your mental health's screwed because you drink and you take drugs. And that's I can only talk from personal experience. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. And it's a very touchy subject for a lot of people. But
it's true though.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like, I think my brother and his addiction, I think his depression was a trigger from his accident.
Yeah.
So he had a really severe scooter accident that caused him severe trauma. And I think the depression from that was a trigger from the accident. And I think he used drugs to self-medicate because it was ketamine. He used to say it was an escape from reality.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, like you said, there's so many people, like I used to go out every weekend and get fucked up. And then I feel shit for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then you get to Thursday, you feel great. Then you do it all over again.
Yeah.
And then you're in that vicious cycle. But once you, like you have, like I was quite fortunate to be, I got to 24 and I was like, I want to be successful. I want to do something with my life.
I don't want this life anymore.
So I don't want to keep going out every weekend and getting fucked up. Like, and then when you stop doing it, and then your life starts going like that, you soon realise that that was the problem. It wasn't other factors. Yeah. And I think that's the problem not for everybody, but for a lot of people, like you've just said, it's not your mental health, it's the drink and the drugs.
And that they can't take ownership of their own behaviour.
Yeah.
Because, and this is something I've said time and time and time again, I've worked with hundreds of addicts, and one of the key things, especially men, sorry guys, will say is, I don't know why I do it. And straight away I'll say, you're a fucking liar. And until you can admit that, you're not going anywhere. What do you mean? He says, you do it because you get a payoff from it.
Yeah.
You do it because it feels good. You sniff a line, you feel good. You place a bet, it feels good. You shag a bird, it feels good.
It's the dopamine reaction,
yeah,
isn't it?
Absolutely. And then afterwards, that doesn't feel so good now. Guilt, shame, regret. I know what I'll do. It's my mental health. And I'm not saying that that's all situations, but that is, it's an easy way out for a lot of people. But in that situation, it's the same thing. How do we get a handle on this? And for me, there is a level of depression and mental health which is very hormonal and it is very different to what I'm talking about. But the level that I'm talking about, to me, it's an energy problem. Like, if you don't have depression, you have low energy. You don't have anxiety, you have low energy. And like I tried to put a little bit of humour into it with clients, but it was another guy who was getting on every weekend. He says, I've got anxiety. And I said, I'm not surprised, bro. When I used to go out on Friday, not sleep and come in on Sunday and take a load of narcotics, I used to have fucking anxiety. But, it's very often, it's the
I don't think people realise
cause.
the chemical reactions that happen when you take certain things. I've got a client that's just come back from rehab and he was struggling with the ketamine addiction, and I was speaking to his mum about it, and I was saying that when you take different kinds of drugs, whether it's ecstasy, cocaine, whatever, the dopamine reaction that you have from
Yeah.
that is so high, hence why you take it.
Yeah.
Nothing else quite feels the same as that high.
Yeah. So life feels low.
And life feels low, so you continue to do that because
Yeah.
that high is unmatched anywhere else.
Absolutely.
But like I said to my client, I said, I get a high, and I'm working with him in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. We're doing the gym, then we're doing the ice bath. And he said after, he went, I feel unbelievable. I said,
Yeah.
that's it now. We replaced that high with that high. But this high is
That's
not
it. You just nailed it.
Yeah.
You just nailed it.
Yeah.
People say
Yeah.
to me, how do I stop drinking? How do I stop taking drugs? How do I stop watching porn? How do I stop gambling?
Yeah.
You don't. You start replacing it with something positive that gives you the same effect.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking every Friday night, like, this turns to a Paul Mort podcast, this, right? Best analogy I've ever heard. Sorry, ladies, but this will make you laugh. Thinking about stopping drinking and thinking about stopping taking cocaine and thinking about stopping gambling is like going to a lap dancing club and saying, don't look at the tits, don't look at the tits, don't look at the tits, don't look at the tits. Sooner or later, you're going to look at the fucking tits because you're in the environment and the thing's there. And I just think it's that analogy that sticks with you forever to remember. If I'm thinking about stopping drinking, I'm going to end, don't matter how hard I try, right? I'm going to end up drinking. And environment's so important as well in terms of people and places, because like you said to me before we were chatting, are you still doing the club thing? Are you still doing the DJ thing? Very, very occasionally, because if I did, I'm not helping myself, am I? You know, someone,
wanna be in that
someone
environment.
with a former problem with that. And the reality is as well, and what I think is quite sad, is people not meaning to encourage people that are struggling. Oh, mate, just have one, you'll be all right. Well, many of the people that are trying to stop aren't going to be all right, which is why they're trying to stop in the first place.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do just need to remove yourself from that environment.